Tonight on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, desperate fantasy football owners looking at week 11 waivers such as ourselves. It's time for Garbage Time. Welcome in, guys, to Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Tonight, it's me, Joe, and JJ, and the Gruden Grinders are back from the grave at 5-5. How are you doing tonight, JJ?
I'm good, as you said. In our winner league, I started the year 0-5, and I've now ripped off 5 straight wins. I'm in the playoff picture, so did pretty well on DraftKings and fantasy this weekend. So Bears should miss weekends more often.
Yeah, tonight it's just me and JJ, as we said. Ryan's working tonight, and Ron decides to celebrate his win this weekend by taking most days off on these episodes. So, JJ, anything surprising that you wanted to talk about this weekend before we get into the daily news?
Not really. Just as a kickoff, I'll say after examining the DraftKings slate this week, I'm predicting that it's the highest scoring DraftKings week of the year. A lot of big matchups, a lot of points out there. So
yeah, you mean a lot of good offenses going up against some absolute terrible defenses, which will play into some of these waiver picks that we have for tonight.
That's right.
Maybe that Texans defense and Jets defense. Anyway, if you're ready for it, let's get into the news.
News updates.
All right, so today it was reported that Damien Harris returned to practice. So what is this going to mean for him and Rhamondre Stevenson going into this weekend?
I have no idea, and I don't think anyone does except Billy B and Josh McDaniels.
Speaking of that, we have a question right off the bat here. So Justin, like the video, subscribe, join the heckling fandom, and when we get this question wrong, scream at us on our website, www.garbagetimef.com, where you can leave a voicemail and tell us why we were completely wrong. So Browns or Finns defense this weekend? Well, you can't go wrong with the Finns defense. They're playing the terrible Jets, who have a rookie quarterback coming back, and the Browns are playing the Texans, I believe.
The Browns play the Lions at home.
Ooh. I would go with the Browns defense, I think, because the Browns have a much better defense, I think, this year. I understand they're coming off a bad game, but desperation breeds that kind of stuff, and that is a terrible Lions offense. So I think I would go with the Browns in this game. What's your thoughts?
You can't go wrong. I mean, both are really good matchups. The tiebreaker may be that the Browns are at home. I would check the weather too. I haven't looked at the forecast for this week, but I'd check the weather. But I think the Browns are probably going to have a bounce back game at home. So I
do too.
I'd have to agree. I agree with Joe. I'd say the Browns. It's just a little bit over the Dolphins.
And nothing breeds defensive struggles like cold weather. And both Detroit and Cleveland are cold weather cities. So a lot of running the ball there and low scoring, which is good for fantasy football defenses.
The Lions play in a dome, Joe.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Well, hopefully it's Cleveland then.
It's Cleveland. They're playing outside.
Yeah, so sorry I don't pay attention to the NFC North as much as a Justin Fields Bears fan. So anyway, back to this discussion that we were talking about, Damien Harris and Rhamondre Stevenson. What were your thoughts again?
I'm not sure. Stevenson looked really good last week filling in. So, but he is a rookie, so you wonder if he's earned his stripes enough with Billy B to hold on to that work.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that too, if he won that job too, because I mean, it was an impressive workload that he does. But you know, Uncle Bill up there likes to ruin fantasy owners' days by starting the veterans. So that is just something to consider when thinking about Rhamondre Stevenson on waivers, which he's definitely on the waiver show tonight.
It's tough because this week you got the Broncos and Rams on a bye, so there's no Darrell Henderson, no Javonte Williams, no Melvin Gordon. So there's definitely teams out there that are looking for a filler, and if you got to decide between those two, good luck.
Yep. Also today, Ravens running back Le'Veon Bell was cut. Is this finally his funeral? Is this his last hurrah?
I don't think he'll retire. I think he'll probably train and try and come back next season, try and get on somewhere in camp. But his days are numbered. He's probably honestly started his last game in the league, and tragic story. He should have signed that extension with Pittsburgh when he had the chance.
Yeah. Speaking of other running backs too, Elijah Mitchell ended up breaking his finger in that Monday Night Football game. Their running game looked okay, but Jeffrey Wilson also got 10 touches in this game. They said they're expecting Elijah Mitchell to return to practice tomorrow. How do you think this backfield is going to play out this coming weekend?
I don't know. I would definitely, if you have an expendable player, add Jeff Wilson as a speculative ad. Because if Mitchell misses, he's going to get all that work versus the Jaguars most likely. It's a decent matchup. Jaguars have actually been, you saw what Jonathan Taylor did to him. But in the second half, they settled in. But still, it's a pretty good matchup.
That was a weird-ass game.
It was a very weird game.
They're getting the Odell curse. It's like the Madden curse when you go on the front of that cover, the player sucks, but instead you end up with Odell and you start to suck. Get ready for his tour around the league. It's coming.
Oh, God.
Also, speaking of crappy Rams players, Tyler Higbee, 3 to 5. It was 3 of 5 on receptions and 20 yards for him yesterday. Is it time to consider other options besides Tyler Higbee? Because he just did not look good.
He got the touchdown that saved his day, but yeah, it was he's not been good. We were off on this one.
We're off by a mile.
Oh, he's probably a top 10 tight end statistically, but nowhere near where we thought he would be.
Yeah, I stole Mark Andrews in a trade in our league, so my standards for tight end are much higher right now.
You've stolen a lot of people.
I have. It's cost many people their soul. Yeah, like I said, I would consider a few names even on this waiver wire over Higbee going forward. And I believe the Rams are actually on a bye this weekend. So even if you have Higbee, you're going to have to consider other options. So listen to some of the names we got tonight, and maybe you'll actually have someone that'll be every week streamer for you, and you can get rid of Higbee. Let's hope that's not the case, and he bounces back. But anyway, into some more news today, too. Trevor Siemian is expected to remain the Saints starter, according to a few reports. Do you think he's going to be viable going forward, or do you think their tight end / quarterback may end up taking that job eventually?
I don't know. I would not start them at all unless you're desperate in a 2 QB league. I don't think they're viable unless you're in a really deep 2 QB league and in a bind.
All right, and with that, also 49ers put Mohamed Sanu on IR. I don't think that's very significant, but, you got to say the news, and that's the news. On to some more important news. Cordarrelle Patterson is expected to miss a couple weeks, too, with an ankle sprain. Is this concerning, especially for this offense?
Yeah, I don't know what that backfield is going to look like now. I saw today that his practice, he was labeled as limited, so he's a tough guy. I don't know if he's going to try and play through it, but either way, it's a tough matchup versus a Patriots defense who's been playing really well lately. So you're probably going to want to look for other options if you have Patterson. And then comes $1 million question of Mike Davis or Wayne Gallman. So
I think Mike Davis is almost getting to the point where he's cuttable. Wayne Gallman maybe end up getting a lot of that work, and he may actually cut into Cordarrelle Patterson's work should he show that he's actually viable in backfields. And I think Wayne Gallman's a pretty good running back and someone you can consider on waivers this week.
Yeah, one of the things looking back at the preseason rankings and everything and all the mock drafts, I never understood anyone's want or desire to draft Mike Davis. He's just never been that good.
I fell into that trap because him being Christian McCaffrey's backup, I get a little bit of luster there because he was doing good for a few weeks, but you're right. He just tends to run out of gas, and he just never had any gas this season.
No.
All right. Tell us about your boy, Tevin Jenkins. I know you're going to be real excited he's coming back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the Bears designated their second-round pick, Tevin Jenkins, to return from IR. So their O-line has been a problem. It's played better the past couple of weeks, so I'm not sure where they're going to put him. He could play left tackle, right tackle, or there's talk of putting him in one of the guard spots. But my guess is he starts out at left tackle, and if that doesn't work out, he goes to right tackle. But either way, hopefully it's a boost for the Bears.
Regardless, you're expecting this to help the running game, though?
Well, the running game has been top 5, top 10 all year. but hopefully it helps protecting Justin Fields from taking those late hits before he gets killed.
Yeah, you're really going to need that help there. And hopefully in the offseason, you'll look to improve that just a little bit more too. Also, Big Ben is expected to clear COVID protocol. And if we saw anything from the Steelers offense, they desperately need him back. And they were inept even with him in that offense. So what's your thought on this pathetic offense going forward?
Start Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson. And other than that, nobody I'm really interested in. I don't know if Claypool's back this week. He'll probably be close. But
what about if he doesn't play Ray McLeod, who played with the backup? He did have a lot of receptions.
I just have no interest in Ray McLeod. One name I forgot, though, Pat Fryermuth's really come on. So,
yeah, you can play him. He's pretty good.
Yep.
And then in our last little bit of news, unless you come up with something else.
One question just popped in quick.
Go ahead.
Great content, guys. Still desperate at RB. 6-4 record. Not bad. Got Devonta Freeman, CEH, Chris Carson, and McNichols. How much I stress picking up Latavius Murray and or Foreman or Gallman?
Well, Chris Carson may have a season-ending injury. They brought him back to practice, but you haven't heard anything on him. I don't even think he's going to play this week, and it's been eerily quiet on his end. Beyond that, from your other running backs, you've got Devonta Freeman, who's he's okay, but they're also getting Latavius Murray back, which is going to split that backfield again. CEH, yeah, and then McNichols is not the starter there, so being stressed, I think your best bet here is Foreman. I think Foreman's going to get the majority of the work there with the Titans. Gallman's got a chance to also pick up some work in that backfield, but the most solid choice here, because he's shown he's going to be successful in that offense, still in a committee, which isn't a good situation, is going to be Foreman, I think.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, Foreman, 100%. A lot of question marks there, but Foreman has a really good matchup against the Texans this week. It's a revenge game for him. That's where his NFL career started and where he got his injury that set him back so far. So I think they're going to try and pound him a little bit. So out of those three, I definitely would look for Foreman this week. And with you having CEH and Carson, you're really just trying to go week by week at running back until CEH comes back. So I would sell it on this week and try and grab Foreman for sure.
That's the one you'd like to pound you, right, JJ?
Joe.
And guys,
I get shit for saying it pounding the rock. It's a damn football expression. And
yes.
You three jackals.
Always have to throw an innuendo on it, huh? All right, guys. If just like Skid here, if you guys think this is good content, like and subscribe to the video. Join the Heckling Fandom. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Google, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, so many damn places. We have an MMA podcast on our website too, www.garbagetimeff.com. You can scream at us in voicemails and we'll play it on the show and laugh our asses off at it and react to it. So don't be afraid to just throw in questions here or even in the comments after a video if you're just watching it. We love that kind of stuff. And leave reviews on Amazon too. It helps with our algorithms and we'd love to get more content out to you guys. So that last little bit of news too that I wanted to talk about before we had a question was Aaron Jones expected to be out 1 to 2 weeks. This is very good for Packers fans because that injury did look bad, but very good for A.J. Dillon owners over the next few weeks, who I think is going to be an absolute animal out there for him.
Hey, Joe, you know who the number one scoring running back in fantasy football is right now?
Yeah, it's not Aaron Jones. It's Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, and for any new listeners, Joe and I have a preseason bet. I projected Jonathan Taylor to outscore Aaron Jones this year.
And he's doing that by a mile. So congratulations, league champ, about to be former league champ.
I don't know. I'm in the hunt.
Yeah, you started off 0-5 and you're 5-5 now, so you got a shot.
I'm that dangerous wild card team that's just kind of hanging around.
Yeah, you were like the Chiefs of a few years ago that started off 1-6 and somehow snuck into the playoffs.
You never know. Don't let me in. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, unfortunately, your Bears aren't going to be as sneaky good the second half of the season. I think it could be a very hard go of it for them, but we'll see.
Get to that. We'll get to that. We'll talk about that.
No. Let's talk about that now before we get into waivers. You obviously want to talk about it.
Well, one of our waiver guys, I'm sure, is a member of the Bears, and we can talk about it then.
Oh, okay. All right. I believe we have another comment here, too. So a regular Edward Davis is here. He says, "What's up, guys? Did Ryan quit?" No, it's just nobody ever likes to show up to our shows, and we all kind of move around and decide who's going to show up on these shows. So Ryan is a big boy and has an adult job. By the way, I flexed Eli Mitchell over Ayuk against my instincts and against your recommendation, and they both suck, so no harm done. Yeah, so it just didn't work out for you either way, and you were screwed either way. So don't take our advice for anything going forward, ever. Just go with your heart, okay, man?
Hey, Edward, I would like to congratulate you. I haven't talked to you since your Lions scored that big tie. So just wanted to give you a shout out there.
Yeah, congratulations on that giant tie. We're so happy for you that you're not going to lose every game this season. All right, and with that, I think we're ready to get into the waivers, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
Ouch.
All right, let's give Skid his due here. He's got another comment that he'd like to read out. He says, "Thanks, guys. Leaning on my wide receivers, Kupp, Adams, Pittman, Kirk, and fingers crossed Henry comes back at the end." Yeah, you might get Henry maybe back for your fantasy football championship if you're lucky.
Yeah, man. Get to the dance.
That's right.
And win the season.
That's right. All right, so which position would you like to talk about first? That's just, we all have them, but, I'm throwing them JJ's
It's the content we love.
All right, so which position would you like to talk about first tonight, JJ?
Stu, quarterback, running back, wide receiver.
All right, let's go with the question that's right on this video. Are you blowing all your FAAB on Cam Newton if you need a quarterback in Superflex leagues this week?
Probably not.
And why not?
Define need a quarterback.
Superflex league need a QB too in your leagues because a lot of the times there's 32 starting quarterbacks in a league. You're starting 2 QBs in that league, which means there's 24 starters. And people like to hog them in Superflex leagues. So if you desperately need someone, should you blow the rest of your money on him? Is he going to start the rest of the season?
I think he is going to start the rest of the year. So if you've been conservative with it, he's obviously a big scoring quarterback with his rushing ability. He has a lower floor than some that are passing quarterbacks like Mike White per se. So
Mr. Fantastic Magic Mike.
Mr. 4-pick.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when's the last time that a team had 2 quarterbacks throw 4 interceptions in a game in a single season?
That is not a statistic I am privy to and do not want to look up. So that is completely okay. If you'd like to look that up, I'm
That's
more
a lot
than
of
happy
research.
Sounds like something Ron or Ryan can do in their post time and troll us in the comments with it.
Maybe.
Yeah, so I like the upside of Cam Newton going forward. He is very familiar with Christian McCaffrey, who we had a little bit of an injury scare with him this weekend, but it looks like he's fine to go for this week. He gets a lot of work, especially with Cam Newton. He's a buddy of his. They're going to play well together. And Cam Newton, even if he's a sucky-ass passer, which sometimes he is, he's got that rushing ability, which is good for fantasy football.
Yes, it is.
Decent waiver wire option for you, and especially in super flex formats. All right, so let's talk about another guy, the part that Ron's going to really like listening to. Is Daniel Jones a decent flex this week?
I don't know.
I mean, he's playing Tampa Bay, and they gave up quite a few points to Washington football's team quarterback on the back end of it last week. So
yeah, Heineke. I played Heineke in DFS, and he got so many. He should have had more touchdowns. I could have won a lot more money, but
that was a good bet on your side. You saw that playoff game from last year, and you knew what the formula for it was going to be again this year, which was exactly what they did to them in the playoffs. Good bet. He was a cheap option for you, and he wasn't even really on my radar for that weekend. So Daniel Jones, I think, is a little bit viable this week because I think Tampa is going to trounce them on offense. They're going to be playing from behind in this game, and Daniel Jones is going to need to pass the ball. Whether he's going to get the ball to those wide receiving options is sketchy because that wide receiving core is pretty sketchy to begin with, but he's also got running ability this week. So if you need to flex him in, say if Kyler Murray's going to be out again this week or something, I think he's a pretty decent option for you this week too. But there may be better options out there for you.
It's going to be very interesting because Monday night, the Giants, I think Saquon's going to come back. So I think you're going to see the full Giants crew. You're going to have, I think Galladay will be playing, Tony, Barkley, Sterling Shepard. Is going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works out, who gets the targets. And
if it looks anything like the Rams for Monday night, it could be pretty bad.
It's true. But no excuses. He's got all those weapons now, I think. So
yeah, your full complement and offense is there. If it doesn't perform well,
he's definitely viable. Like if you have Stafford on a bye, I wouldn't be upset about starting him as a phone guy at all.
Okay. Is he more viable than our next option here, Mac Jones, who had 3 touchdowns last week and is playing Atlanta this week?
I would rank them pretty close. Jones plays, Atlanta. I can't remember. Is it in Foxborough? It's in Atlanta, so it's in the Dome.
Yep.
I believe he's played there before in his collegiate career. So he's viable too. I'd probably rank them very similarly.
Yeah, I think he's got experience there playing in the SEC before, so he's got some familiarity with that field. It's in a dome, good weather, not going to be cold. He's a warm weather boy, obviously playing there in college. Shitty defense. I think it could be a pretty good performance for him this week. It may be his highest passing yards of his entire career up to this point. This could be the game.
Potentially. At the same time, it's Atlanta, who is susceptible on the ground too, but saw the Cowboys. Cowboys could do whatever they wanted versus them last week. So unless they really get up for this game, I think New England can move the ball either way they want.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of quarterbacks playing a collegiate level defense, Tua Tagovailoa is going up against the Jets this weekend. Is he a very viable option too if you need him on waivers?
I think so. Even though he made some questionable throws Thursday night, he's taken that role back over as a starter. So I don't mind him, and I like Jalen Waddle a lot this week, especially in DFS. He just loves Jalen Waddle, and he's going to target him a million times in this game. So,
and as a jaded Jets fan that just described the Jets defense as collegiate, play anyone you can against it because that defense is horrendous. And yes, our head coach is supposedly a defensive guru. Figure that one out. Definitely going to have to work on that in the offseason. Absolutely pathetic. All right. Any other quarterbacks you'd like to talk about before we move on to another position, JJ? Let's do it, boy. Talk about him.
Fields is viable. He had a bye this past week, so there's a solid chance that anybody that had him maybe dropped him. His second half of season schedule is not very difficult. He's playing the Ravens, whose defense has been below average. He's got the Vikings twice, whose defense is average. He plays Edwards Lions week 12 on Thanksgiving. So he's looked better and better. And he's got more chemistry with Robinson and Komet, and the offense is starting to look and click better. And he's also using his legs a lot more than he was at the start. So I think he's definitely viable. And the rushing ability obviously gives him a higher floor. So
all right, so screw the positional format for this for just a second. We'll talk about 2 players that are on people's waiver wires right now, Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney. Are these 2 viable, and to what level is their viability going forward?
Yeah, Komet is like turning into one of Fields' favorite targets, and there was a cool clip after their Monday night game that they were talking back and forth and how close they are, and they know how good they're going to be. And obviously, I'm talking as a Bears homer, but
that's what the show's for.
Komet has always had a lot of upside and talent, and he just hasn't been able to utilize it. But he's started to click the past couple of weeks with Fields. Mm-hmm. And the Ravens have been absolutely atrocious versus tight ends this year. So if you have Higbee or Noah Fant and you're looking for a filler, he's viable. I'm starting him in a couple of leagues. Bears are probably going to be down too. So I think the game script also was pro Fields and Komet. So.
Well, if you're down against Detroit in a few weeks, you've got worse problems than that. Maybe if you lose that one, that'll be the one they finally fire Nagy on.
No, the Bears won't fire Nagy until January.
If they fire him then. Anyway, what position would you like to talk about next?
Let's do the running backs.
All right, let's do it. So we already touched on Rhamondre Stevenson and talked about his teammate that's coming back to practice this week. Is he the top running back option on the week?
Said Stevenson, right?
Yes. Other viable names this week: Wilson, Gallman, Howard, Hubbard.
I think season long he is.
Mm-hmm.
This week, I think Foreman is probably has the most upside this week. But season long, I think Stevenson. I just don't know what Bill is going to do. Because he could, I mean, typically you think like he's going to play the hot hand and the guy that looks the best, but he just is set in his ways. Like, I don't know if you remember Jonas Gray. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I do. Oh, I remember Jonas Gray. Ryan talked all about him. He loved Jonas Gray.
Yeah, he rushed for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns versus the Colts in primetime football, and then he was like 2 minutes late to a meeting.
That was it.
And that was it for his career. He was done. Just gone. So, yeah, I like Stevenson. I don't get their obsession with Brandon Bolden. I know he's been on the team for a long time and earned his stripes, but Stevenson is clearly more talented, and I think he should get that passing down role and mix in on the first and second down role. So
the only reason why I think Bolden, unfortunately, is very popular on that team, especially to Bill, is because he plays a lot of special teams and he has a lot of roles on that team.
Yeah.
And Bill always tends to cede to the veteran because I guess they're not 2 minutes late to meetings. And listen here, the last 2 weeks, Bill has absolutely put the emphasis on getting the ball to all the running backs in both the rushing and passing game. So guess what? He's like a chameleon. It's time to change the formula because he doesn't want anyone to know what he's doing. So guess what? Rhamondre Stevenson might get no carries this week, but it is too juicy for you not to pick him up if you're desperate for a win this week and you need to flex someone. So Rhamondre Stevenson is very viable this week. Someone I feel a little bit more comfortable with specifically this week, though, and not on a long-term outlook, is Donta Foreman. Now, listen, he had 11 carries this week, has a decent matchup going into this week. Unfortunately, is still playing in a backfield with the committee, but he looks the best in that backfield, I think.
I agree. And it is frustrating because Peterson has been the goal line back too, which Peterson is a first ballot Hall of Fame running back, potentially going to pass Barry Sanders' rushing total, but his kryptonite in his career has been fumbling. So it's kind of surprising that Foreman can't overtake 36 or 37-year-old Adrian Peterson at the goal line. But if he does, watch out.
Speaking of 40-year-old running backs, how do you feel about Frank Gore going into boxing?
I don't know. I saw a couple of clips of him training. He looked okay, but I know that Darren Williams owns an MMA gym, the guy he's fighting. So I don't know how often he's sparring or training with those guys, but I mean, Gore was in the league last year, so he definitely wasn't training fighting. So I have to give the edge to Williams, who's also taller, probably has a reach advantage.
Yeah, it's nice to know that we're a year or two away from celebrity deathmatch. We're definitely on that way with all this celebrity boxing going on.
Pretty much.
Yeah, completely unrelated to fantasy football, but we also do an MMA show, so maybe we'll do boxing eventually too. Who knows? All right, so getting into our next player too, Jordan Howard. Any viability here? They're also talking about Miles Sanders potentially coming back soon. They have a head coach who doesn't know what the hell he's doing from week to week. I think he just reads the back of a cereal box and then goes into those meetings with the media.
Yeah, if you're desperate, Sanders is probably coming back this week.
I mean, they rushed on 68% of all plays last week, so that's the highest in the league.
Yeah, some of that is because Jalen Hurts ran so many times, but Howard looked good, man. It's hard to take the ball away from him when he's running that well. So, I mean, the Broncos are not the top defense, but they're not a joke. So, tough matchup versus Saints D-line, but they're at home. I mean, he's viable.
Yeah, I think he is too, and we might end up having to play him this week still. I hope Miles Sanders is out a little bit longer because I think he's a pretty decent flex option too. Here's another player too that may not be on a lot of waiver wires, but Chuba Hubbard, viable with potentially a Panthers starting running back being banged up, or is he going to get all the work there?
I think McCaffrey is definitely playing this week. They're the 7th seed in the playoffs right now on the NFC side, so they have a lot to play for.
So this is one you would just scratch right off your list?
I mean, definitely if you have McCaffrey, Adam.
Yeah, there's no reason you shouldn't.
It depends who you got. Like if you have Russell Gage or someone expendable on your team, he's definitely worth an add because McCaffrey has proven he cannot stay healthy. So obviously, we saw what Hubbard did when McCaffrey went out. He's definitely 100% viable when McCaffrey's out. So he should be rostered in your league. Like he's, I would say like an elite handcuff at this point with what he did when McCaffrey was out. So.
And guys, if you haven't figured out by now, every single week, Russell Gage is a favorite drop of ours. Every single week, we love to just take him off our teams. So yeah, goodbye, Russell Gage.
Ron started him this week.
Yeah, looked real good, didn't it? He still won, but it looked real good. All right. We already talked about it a little bit, but let's cover it one more time. Jeffrey Wilson.
Yep. Worth an ad if you have Russell Gage on your team.
Leave it at that.
Yeah, no. I think Mitchell will probably play. He probably knows that if he sits, he could lose his job with Kyle Shanahan. So, I mean, a broken finger sucks and it's painful, but you can definitely play through it. So,
yeah, you're getting paid millions of dollars. You can tape that some bitch up and just play, I think, right?
Yeah, I think Mitchell probably will play, but keep an eye on it. He had surgery, so it must have been, somewhat bad. So
my guess is he's not in on a lot of passing downs, though.
Yeah, right.
Probably wouldn't be good for him. Yeah. All right, so wide receivers next.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I got to ask one question. Where the hell did Marcus Johnson come from this week? He's the Titans' number 2 wide receiver, 100 yards off 5 catches. Julio Jones is out for the next few weeks. How viable is he going forward, and is he very high on your waiver wire priority?
He is an interesting guy. He's kind of journeyman, if you will. He's been around since – he's been in the league like since 2016.
So the Ryan Fitzpatrick of wide receivers?
Yeah. But he's interesting. Tannehill seemed to trust him. I just worry because we had that big week from Westbrook Akini like a while ago, and then we thought he was viable, and now no one's even thinking about him. So it worries me a little bit, but he's got a good matchup versus the Texans, and just looking at DraftKings prices, he's only $3,300 on DraftKings. So that's a potential cheap filler for your lineups if you play DFS, but
I've got a feeling he's going to be across the board on our DFS lineups because I'm a fan. I watched some of his game tape after we were talking about him on Sunday, saying, "Who the hell is this guy?" And I'm like, "Hey, this guy can actually ball. I think he might have a future in the league. He might actually get a contract out of this, at least a little bit of a one." So he's pretty interesting. Speaking of other interesting players, which you seem to hit on this past weekend, which pissed me off in DFS. Jamal Agnew, he was targeted 5 times. He didn't catch any of them, but he had 3 carries and the explosive one for over 70 yards. Is he someone else that you're looking at on the wide receiver waiver wire now that he's the Taysom Hill of wide receivers?
I mean, I have him in a couple leagues. He's viable. I think he may, hold on. Let me check how many targets Marvin Jones had in this game. Marvin Jones had 6 targets. So he is second in targets behind Marvin Jones for the Jaguars since DJ Chark got hurt. So they throw to him a lot. They give him opportunities. They let him run the ball. I can't remember who the listener was, but someone came in here a couple of weeks ago and said they think they're going to use Agnew like they were going to use ETN in the offense. So, and I can't remember the guy's name, but I want to give him credit. That was a pretty good call because they kind of have. They put him everywhere. So,
any potential for him to potentially be a poor man's Cordarrelle Patterson in the second half of the season? Could you see the Jaguars using him a lot more?
Probably not more than he is now. I mean, 5 targets and 3 carries, like trying to get him. Seems like they're trying to get him like 8 to 10 touches a game. I think that's probably where he's going to stay. But obviously, he's an explosive returner, and we saw what he did on that run. He's really fast, so he could pop one off at any minute. So,
what's the name of the quarterback that the Raiders drafted, I believe, last year from Kentucky? It was like their gadget player, and everyone loved him. That sounds like what Agnew is doing now is what he should have been. Do you remember the guy's name? I don't even know if he's on the roster anymore.
You're talking about Lynn Bowden?
I believe Lynn Bowden, yeah.
He got traded to the Dolphins.
I haven't heard anything from him since.
He was in that disastrous Raiders draft where they had the Khalil Mack picks, one of the Khalil Mack picks.
Yeah.
Or 2 of them. I can't even remember at this point, but where they just blew every pick. And I think only Brian Edwards is on the roster from that entire draft a couple of years ago. So, yeah, they traded him like after 1 year, maybe even the year they drafted him.
Oh, all right. And with that, who are you looking as a better long-term option here? Marcus Johnson or Jamal Agnew?
Probably Agnew. I just haven't seen enough from Johnson. And like I said, Westbrook-Ikhine had that 1 week, so he could be a one-hit wonder. We'll see what he does versus the Texans. If he has another big game, then he's definitely someone to consider. But
okay. Have any interest in Will Fuller going up against the shitty Jets defense?
He's actually going to play?
There's talk about him potentially playing.
It can't hurt as a flyer. You got Kupp and Woods tore his ACL and Beckham's out and Judy and Sutton. There's some receivers out.
Right on cue, the Giants fan comes in late, fumbles the ball. Speaking of wide receivers on the waiver wire, is Will Fuller coming off IR this week? Do you think he has potential flex value if he comes back? Edward, literally 10 seconds late. Yeah, there was talk about him coming off the IR. I think he is a good play here because that is a horrible Jets defense who likes to give up 45 points a game. So, yeah, good play. Someone you can definitely play in the flex this week if you need to. And, yeah, right when you mentioned it, totally. I bet you were thinking about it before we were, right? All right, so I don't anything else on Will Fuller?
I'll give Edward some credit. He knows his stuff.
I'm just giving him shit.
He's a Lions fan, which means he's a super fan because he has to put up with all the shit that they give him every year. So he has to be a pretty big NFL fan. He knows his stuff.
Edward, the only thing worse is right now is you could be a Jets fan because at least you guys have gotten to the playoffs before we did in the last 10 years. So you got that going for you at least. All right. Traquan Smith, any of these Saints wide receivers? Again, Traquan Smith?
I'm just reading that Flores in his press conference yesterday says he didn't expect Fuller to be available this weekend against the Jets.
Well, there's your answer, Edward. He is not a good flex, and we are wrong. So waddle. And yes, you need to have thick skin to be a fan base of either one of these teams or a Bears fan lately either.
Or a listener of this podcast.
That's true, too. I'm surprised you haven't unsubscribed yet. You've threatened it a few times, trying to blackmail us unless we answer your questions. So thanks again for that all the time.
That's Sua that does that, and I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, no, Edward doesn't do it. It's Sua. Sua was on Sunday, actually.
Okay.
All right, so anyway, back to Traquan Smith. Thoughts?
It's a luck guy. Like,
yeah.
You could start him and he'll go for 70 yards and a touchdown, or he could have 3 catches for 14 yards. So
I think if you need more of a boom player, I like Harris a lot better in that offense. Typically it's 3 yards and something like 80 with him. I don't like playing any of the wide receivers from this offense currently. A team that could have really used Odell Beckham is this team. I don't know why he didn't sign there with the Packers. Good job signing with the Rams. But, yeah, I would avoid these wide receivers and pick other ones in this list that we've mentioned here too. Someone I think that you could start over him and has a very good matchup and is starting to be seen as the number one wide receiver by default in offenses is Donovan Peoples-Jones, and he's going up against the Texans this weekend. So a lot of teams are starting to put their number one cornerback on him. I understand he hasn't performed great lately, but this is a good matchup for him, and they got to throw the damn ball to someone. So why not Donovan Peoples-Jones having a good week against the Texans this week?
I don't know. Is that a cat I hear?
Yeah, that's my cat.
What's your cat's name?
It's Renly.
Renly.
Yeah.
Baratheon?
Huh?
Is he named after Renly Baratheon?
He sure is.
Okay.
You stand up and he runs away from you. It's perfect. All right, we got a few questions here, so let's get into these. We'll go to Justin because he's a regular, and then we'll get to iGhost's question here. Guys, do you like Foreman or Stevenson? ROS.
Rest of season.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Rest of season. This week, rest of season would be Stevenson, and we actually covered this early, Justin, so if you want to go back to the running back section of this, which is about 20 minutes ago, we actually covered this exact topic. Rest of season would be Stevenson. Potentially could have won that job there, but Uncle Bill likes to F things up for us, so who knows? Foreman has the better matchup for this week, though. So if you need to win to get into the playoffs, Foreman is the pickup for this week. But if you're coasting, you need someone who's got higher viability. Stevenson's
I don't know because Stevenson plays the Falcons.
It's a good matchup,
man.
All right, you're putting your mortgage on it, JJ. Which one are you going with then? This week and rest of the season.
This week, if Harris is back, Foreman. Rest of season, give me Stevenson.
Okay. And iGhost, I believe you have already subscribed and liked this, but if you haven't, cost of the question is subscribing and joining the Heckling fandom and then screaming at us when we are wrong. Who should I trade between AB and Moore? I would trade Moore, I think. Cam Newton, not a very prolific passing QB. Moore seems to work with really shitty QBs. He does well, especially when Sam Darnold was there. But AB's been on a tear, and I think he's going to go right back into that role with Tom Brady. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, JJ. I think you may have a different opinion because AB is kind of like 1C in that Bucs offense, but AB was playing really good earlier in the season, so I say Moore.
He hasn't been playing.
I still think he's going to go right back in that role, but we'll see.
I don't know. So question. It's I gotta see Cam and DJ Moore. I remember DJ Moore was there for his rookie season. He was with Cam, and it wasn't anything special. But yeah, McCaffrey is back, and he just absorbs everything. Like 10 receptions, it's just ridiculous. So I think if Brown is back and healthy, I would rather keep Brown than Moore. I would say, yeah. So try and move Moore.
Someone in the comments agrees with you too, so definitely keep AB, says Edward Davis. Yeah, this is a good problem to have, though, Igo. So listen, you got two good wide receivers here, and they both have value. So, make the best decision what's good for your roster. AB, I think, is more boom bust because of the injury, but I think he'll be fine because they've been resting him for quite a while, and Moore is going to have lower consistent points, but McCaffrey does eat up all targets, so I still think Moore. Justin also had another question, so we'll answer this before we get into more wide receivers. Ryan Tannehill, Cam, or Tua this week? Who is Tannehill going up against this week?
Texans.
Cam is going up against
Washington football team.
And Tua against the Jets. I think I'm going to go Ryan Tannehill. The Texans are absolutely horrendous, so go with your boy, Ryan Tannehill.
I kind of want to go with Tua, but
thanks for that.
I'm sorry, but check the weather first off. The Dolphins just look like shit trying to run the football, like just terrible. Like Gaskin even when he gets volume, he doesn't even get 3 yards a carry. It's all his offenses from the past game, but their past game doesn't look great. But I just can see Waddle having a huge week and Gesicki having a big week.
I think you can cross Cam off this list, though. The Washington football team's defense is underrated up to this point, and they played pretty well against the Bucs last week. So 1A and 1B, depending on who you believe in this argument, would be Tannehill and Tua, I think.
Here's my answer. So depends on the week. If you're favored to win and you think you're likely to win, I would play Tannehill. I think he's the safest play out of these guys. If you're an underdog, and you got a lot of guys on bye week and everything, I would try and play Tua with the upside. I think he has the most upside out of this group. So,
and Igo says another comment here, and then we'll get into the last wide receiver I've got in the category. I need a running back, and I have those 2 wide receivers in.
I have these 2 wide receivers.
Devontae, and Jamar. So he's got those 3, and then he's got 2. But I have to trade for Monty. I have a trade for Monty and Marquise for Jamar. There's a lot in this question. For Jamar and DJ, should I do it?
But I have a trade for Monty. So you're trading
for Montgomery and
Marquise Brown, and you're giving up Jamar Chase and DJ Moore. Or is that Deontay Johnson? Deontay Johnson. So Deontay Johnson and Jamar Chase for Marquise Brown and Montgomery.
It's a balanced trade if that's what your roster needs. I don't see anything wrong with this.
Yeah, and I talked about the Bears' schedule second half of the season. Montgomery always kills the Vikings. He gets to play them twice. He gets the Lions. He gets the Ravens this week, who I think he's going to be able to run on. If you need a running back, I wouldn't have a problem making that trade.
Yeah. And guys, feel free to yell at each other in the comments too. We love to see arguing. Not that you guys are doing that. You're being very supportive of each other. That's nice too. So last wide receiver in this category I've got. You said no, but I wanted to bring him up again. Ray McLeod. So if the backup for the Steelers is in there, he got targeted 12 times, had 9 catches. You still wouldn't consider him if Big Ben isn't playing?
No.
So you hear that. Cross that right off your list, guys. Don't even listen to a damn thing I said about that.
And I think Claypool has a good chance to play. And I know just in watching the preseason a little bit, I know that Mason Rudolph loves Claypool. So I think that would hinder McLeod too, on top of him being a below average wide receiver. So,
okay. So let's get into the tight ends now. Again, on every waiver show, we mention him, and he is the proverbial number 1 wide receiver of the Jaguars. Dan Arnold. Why the hell are people not picking him up? He got targeted 7 times, had 5 catches for 67 yards. Gloat about Dan Arnold again.
Yeah, he's Trevor's favorite guy. So he's consistent. I've been playing him on DraftKings almost every week. He just, as soon as he got there, he has started to produce and has not stopped. So if only he could find the end zone more, and just like the Jaguars in general, but he's reliable, and he's almost like set it and forget it at this point with as shitty as tight ends like Higbee and others have been. So
right. So Justin's got another question. So do I pick up Ty Johnson on the Jets? Actually, this is not a running back we didn't cover, but actually that's a pretty viable option for this week. Carter looks like a running back too. Ty Johnson has gotten a little bit of work, but it's been in garbage time the last 2 weeks. So mind that too. So the passing work for him hasn't been bad, but there's much better options that we listed. Look to see if those other options are there before you consider Ty Johnson, because again, he's a running back too on a very bad offense. So, and Carter is starting to elevate his play and may end up becoming the bell cow anyway. And they, for some reason, still have Tevin Coleman in this offense, which is stupid. Thoughts on that?
I'm not trying to play Ty Johnson, but he is viable, and they do throw it to him. I know, we think Zach Wilson's coming back this week?
I'm definitely positive he's coming back this week. They actually just elevated his teammate from why am I forgetting what college he went to?
BYU?
BYU. Yeah, they just elevated the tight end that came from that again this week. So he's his favorite target from college. So yes, I believe he's going to play this week. That was just something to add there. And I really, really don't want them to play Joe Flacco. I can't live through another game of that. I already dealt with that with Adam Gase. Please do not play Joe Flacco this weekend. I can't stand it. At least I can see a quarterback develop this week if Zach Wilson's plays. I don't want another damn day of the Joe Flacco experience.
Yeah, so the only thing I'll say about those Johnson, he got a lot of passing work, and Mike White definitely loved throwing to the running back and dumping it down. Wilson kind of lets it fly like Jay Cutler, like I call him. So I don't know if there's going to be as many targets to Carter and Johnson if Wilson's in, but you're the Jets expert.
Zach will throw 2 picks if he plays. You're on the low end of that, even against the Dolphins. He's a rookie coming off of injury. I understand the Dolphins have been playing like shit. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to have a good game coming back. I'm hoping for more development.
Dolphins just beat the Ravens.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm not confident in this game for him going forward. I'm not really confident for the Jets offense going forward against anyone with this rookie. It's a work in progress. The offense is all right. The defense is horrendous. Yeah, look for 3 picks this week.
Have some faith, Joe. Come on.
I've watched my team get stomped 3 out of the last 4 weeks by over 40 to 50, 40, somewhere between 40 to 50 points, 3 out of the 4 weeks. How do I have any hope? There is no hope.
They beat the number 1 team in the power rankings, the Titans, randomly, and they beat the Bengals, but
yeah, so we have to have I don't even know. It pisses me off because you see 2 completely different teams and then go out and get your ass kicked by 30. And it's not 30 because you get garbage time points. Anyway, let's talk about another tight end before I get more pissed off. CJ Uzomah is coming off of the bye week this week. Is he viable and someone that you would consider to replace Higbee, who was on bye?
He's definitely viable. I think that the Vegas and Bengals game could be a sneaky, high-scoring game. So, yes, I would say yes, he is viable.
Very viable. And, Justin, you're right. That Cincinnati game with the Jets was fantastic too. Mike White were great, but Zach Wilson also did a similar thing to the Titans. So maybe he'll have a few more surprises by the end of the season. I'm going to need a few more, so I am not an alcoholic by the end of the season. So yeah, let's hope he's got a few more surprise games in him because this has just been absolutely brutal. Damn right, just end the season. And let's get some more draft picks. All right. We already talked about him, but cover your boy, Cole Kmet.
Yeah, pretty much what I said earlier. Him and Fields have – oh, man.
Oh, Justin, I have a tattoo. It was my first tattoo at 18, and it's a Jets tattoo. So I am forever in the fandom and enjoy the misery with you. Anyway, Cole Kmet.
Man, we got Jets fans and Lions fans in here. We're
you guys just love misery. You're perfect for garbage time fantasy
football
and a miserable ass heckling fandom.
I'm a Bears fan. Joe's a Jets fan. And Ron's a Giants fan.
That's why you all watch our podcast instead of football games because your teams suck.
Teams. Yeah. Except Ryan. Screw Ryan.
Yeah.
Lucky bastard.
He drinks beer with his pinky out.
Anyways, yeah, Kmet's definitely viable going forward. Like I said, the Bears schedule, it's the 3rd time I've said it, but the Bears schedule second half is pretty generous. Him and Fields have started to click. Bears are throwing the ball more, and he's become a legitimate target. So definitely viable.
All right, and last one I have on this list, Tyler Conklin. Is he a decent play for this week?
Yes and no.
Don't give us that middling shit. Give us a real answer.
He's viable. He's definitely viable. He's playing Packers. I think Rodgers is going to score on the Vikings. So they're going to be down. I think Cousins is going to have to throw in this game. The only problem is the Packers run the most boring offense in the NFL, and they just own time of possession. So pass attempts for opposing quarterbacks are typically down when teams play the Packers. So that could cap Conklin, who typically gets around 5 targets a game.
Yeah.
So that worries me a little bit, but I think they are going to have to throw. So, and Cousins has shown he trusts him.
Is there any other tight ends that I have not mentioned up to this point that you'd like to talk about?
Logan Thomas, just keep an eye on him if he's coming back. Someone in your league need a roster spot and you don't have an IR spot. He could be out there in your league. Heineke likes the tight end.
He does.
He threw to Seals Jones a lot when he filled in, and Seals Jones got hurt. So they had what's the kid's name? It's slipping my mind, but their 3rd or 4th stringer was in there catching passes after Seals Jones went out. So, yeah. So look for Logan Thomas.
Yeah, that tight end position there with the Washington football team is viable no matter who is at that position. And it sounds like you have another name, so go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. No, that's it. I think that's it.
Oh, okay. All right. So with that, let's quickly get onto the defenses. I've got 3 here. I think there is a decent, if you need, obviously, these are defenses you would play if you need a waiver or if you have bad matchups on defenses. So my 3 defenses that I've got this week, and I'm sure one of these will be the defensive dominator pick of the week for me when we get to the Thursday show too. I've got the 49ers defense playing Jacksonville. I believe they played very well against the Rams and could surprise a shitload of people. I've got the Tennessee defense up against Houston. You can play any defense against Houston and have a good week. Just, look at the schedule. If you're on waivers, just pick up the defenses playing Houston. And I'm sorry, Justin, but the Dolphins defense against the Jets could be a bad week for us. Just pains my soul. What about you, JJ? What defenses are you looking at this week off waivers?
You covered them. Did you say Cleveland? I know Edward said Cleveland, but
Edward says Cleveland. What order would you put those defenses in?
So Cleveland, Miami,
Tennessee 49ers.
Probably Cleveland, Miami, Tennessee, 49ers. Another defense that may be available would be the Panthers.
Yep.
They're playing Washington, but they're at home and their defense has been pretty stout. With Cam coming back, I think they're going to run the ball, control time possession, and their defense just has been good this year. So, and obviously Ron Rivera
the players know their coach.
Yeah. Well, Ron Rivera's on Washington, so he knows Cam, but I don't know. I think the Panthers get up for this game and have a decent shot and have a good week.
Yeah, but DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey might know Rivera, so that can go the opposite way too.
That's true. Very true.
So, yeah, Justin, depressing. I'm really pissed that you're going with the Dolphins defense, but it is a smart play, and you have to play smart in fantasy football with the mind, not with your heart. So definitely viable. And JJ, is there anything else tonight you would like to cover before we get the hell out of here?
I don't think so.
All right, guys. So we call this Garbage Time Fantasy Football. This is the therapy session for shitty fans like Jets, Lions, Bears, Giants fans. We do talk about fantasy football. Like us on YouTube, subscribe to the show, leave us comments. Edward's got another comment here. We'll read these because you guys seem to love to just throw them at us now. Landry has been on my bench, has been my bench princess all year. He's been a bench princess for a lot of people. Is he worth the flex spot against the Lions this week, or am I just looking for an excuse to start him? No, he's definitely a good start this week. You can finally get Rapunzel out of the tower this week. I think he's a good flex spot this week.
I like that term, bench princess.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to use it a lot more. Maybe you didn't copyright that, so we may be stealing that, Edward. Justin, 9 weeks Goff, 5 picks, 5 week. 9 weeks Goff, 5 picks, 5 weeks Wilson, 9 picks. Yeah, we're just gonna go right over that. When you guys go live, so typically our shows are live. They are a little bit sporadic because of the holidays, but typically they are Monday night live at 7 or 7:15. Tonight was a little bit later because JJ worked with 7 or 8 on Tuesdays because of the waivers, and then we also do a Thursday show, which is the preview show. Because of Thanksgiving next week, the schedule is going to be Sunday night. We're going to do game previews, game wrap-ups from that. We're going to do a Monday waiver because, guys, you got games on Thursday. You're going to need waivers early. And then Wednesday preview. I believe Wednesday or Tuesday. But typically, check around this time, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday on normal weeks. But, we're sporadic and do that kind of shit. Just check around 7 o'clock general days. We'll be around.
We usually have it scheduled too, so if you're subscribed, you'll see it'll pop up when we're gonna go live, and you'll have a heads up. So
yeah, Justin, actually go to our website www.garbagetimeff.com. If you subscribe to it, you will see when we actually schedule the live shows. It'll pop right in your email. So that's a good way to actually find out that too. And typically, I will prepare the lives about a half day ahead of time too, so you'll actually see when we're going live too. But typically, somewhere between 7 to 8, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays are your good days. D. Smith or Waddle also is Dallas Goddard. We call him Godert on the show because we can't pronounce anything. Dallas Goedert status. I don't know nothing on Dallas Goedert. Have you heard anything on him?
You don't know nothing.
Don't know nothing on that. Can't help you with that, Justin. Devontae Smith or Waddle this week. Smith has been breaking out. You go with Devontae Smith, I think.
No.
Oh, you're such a fucking liar. It's
I
Smith.
completely disagree. Smith
Why?
is playing the Saints, and
Yeah.
I think he is the only threat on offense for the Eagles, in my opinion, as a pass catcher, especially if Goddard misses. So I think Marshawn Lattimore is going to shadow him and lock him down a little bit. And Tua loves Waddle, and he's playing the Jets, who have given up 45 or more points in 3 of their last 4 games. I'm going Waddle.
Smith's been hot the last 2 weeks. I'm going Smith. So guess what? You're split. Flip a coin, and then yell at and then all right. What's the bet?
We'll figure it out. Thursday. I don't know if you're going to be on Thursday, but we'll have an answer for the viewers Thursday.
Yeah, regardless, you'll have an answer. If I'm not on Thursday, you'll tell them what the bet is. We'll come up with some stupid shit for the show, like some poem or written apology or some shit.
I like that. The loser has to
apologize or
recite a written apology to the other.
Yeah, but the other person gets to write it for them.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. All right, yeah, that totally works. Yeah, so you get a written apology from one.
So whoever PPR format, whoever scores more points. I pick Jalen Waddle. You pick Devontae Smith.
I love it.
Loser has to read the other's pre-written apology for him.
Sorry, Edward. We're both from upstate New York originally, so poetry is not our strong suit, and either is English. So we're just going to do a written apology. So yeah, like I said, guys, just like, subscribe. We're on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, any damn place you can find a podcast. I think we're even on Amazon now too. So just like the show, leave us reviews anywhere you find us. And once in a while, Ryan and Ron will actually show up to the shows. Ron, once in a great while, actually does shows for start sits on Sundays, when he's not busy. JJ's very good on Twitter too. We have a Twitter. Do you want to tell him that, JJ?
Yeah, Twitter is garbage_time FF. Wasn't very active this last week. My other account got hacked, so I was straightening that out. But I got everything back. We're back, so I'll be live tweeting Sunday during the game. So interact with me. Yeah.
We also have an Instagram too. It's just Garbage Time Fantasy Football. You can leave messages and questions there, and we will actually answer them. I do check that every day, and I leave sample clips on that every day to advertise in the show too. So feel free to get into that. Ryan also has Garbage Time Presents, the MMA podcast. We have had 2 live episodes on YouTube now. He's had 10 or 11 anywhere you get podcasts too. So if you listen to it on the radio, you can go back and listen to the old ones. He has good predictions every week, double digits in wins every week, so he can win you money in DFS. Very good at predictions. Him and Casey do a hell of a job. And with that, let's get the hell out of here and have a good night, guys.